Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone, depending on what time of day you're watching this. My name is Brittany. My company is called Empty Desk Solutions. We provide social media marketing services for small businesses and nonprofits. And I'm here today partnering with Angie to do a presentation for you all about storytelling for nonprofits. So before we really dig in and go into some of these details, I want to share a little bit about myself and why I feel I can deliver this presentation to you. So I'm going to just flip over the easiest way to describe who we are, of course. Load up our website here. Here we are. Okay, so I like to introduce my team because that is the most fun part. So we are local, we're in BC, we're actually located in Port Coquitlam, but we have clients across Canada and some even in the United States as well. The company was founded in 2014. Our clients primarily existed of mortgage brokers and realtors and slowly kind of added on more brick and mortar and most recently the nonprofits, which is why I'm super excited to be here for you guys today. This is my team here, our 4 girls. We have Erin, Shirley, Hallie, and Kendra. All 4 of them help out on the content marketing side. So primarily what we do is social media content marketing, which is why this is super relevant for us to be able to share this information with you. So we write, design, and publish content on behalf of our clients. And we have a really awesome tool that we want to give away at the end of this video to help you in planning out your content. I do want to put it out there as well. This is not any kind of sales pitch whatsoever. We want to deliver some value, give you some real actionable tips, especially on how to plan your content and pair it up with your storytelling. And then, of course, if you need some more help, you can reach out to myself or Angie anytime. And speaking of that, Angie and I are going to be doing a Facebook Live as well. So we're going to answer any questions you have that have come from this video and from Angie's resources she sent as well. So send us your questions. We'd love to see you on the Facebook Live, and let's get to it. Now, I should mention this is 100% not scripted. So you'll have to excuse me if I stumble a little bit here. Just going to load up our presentation. And hopefully, awesome, this is clear for everybody and they can see my screen. So storytelling for nonprofits, who, how, and why. So first of all, your story. What is brand storytelling? So brand storytelling is using a narrative to connect your brand to customers with a focus on linking what you stand for to the values you share with your customers. And we can, interchange customers with donors, audience. You get the idea. By the way, if you're watching this and you are not a nonprofit, this is 100% applicable for small businesses, small marketing teams, of course. Even if you're a contractor or a freelancer starting off in business, all of this presentation is still very relevant to you, and we'll give you a copy of it after as well. Now, why use storytelling? Look at this cute little photo. It's adorable. I had to put it in there. So stories influence people, their emotions, their behaviors, and their actions. Stories find a way to human hearts and heads. People are wired to respond to stories. People remember stories more than, facts and figures. Then stories help people learn from others' experience. So when we're talking about storytelling, it'll make a little more sense at the end where we show you the difference between what we call kind of our static brand build content versus real authentic storytelling. We're talking about the more detailed stories like you'd read where there's characters and there's a beginning and a middle and an end and some development in there. We're not talking about just sharing, tips and tricks, that kind of thing. Now, what is storytelling useful for? Of course, a lot of these apply to small businesses, but we're talking today to nonprofits. So number one, we can't ignore storytelling is useful for fundraising, for raising awareness, for mobilizing volunteers, which we all know can be quite tricky, building trust, which is across the board, regardless of what industry or sector you're in. Nonprofits are in the business of stories. I think we can all agree there, and often have impactful stories at their fingertips, you guys in nonprofits, yet rarely gather and use them. This is true for our small business people as well. So there are so many stories circulating that, maybe they're in your head, maybe people have told them for you, that kind of thing. We want to show you actually how to use that in your marketing specifically. Now, why is it important? It's important because it creates context. So people are going to relate to stories that are, especially if they're memorable, of course, they can ground your marketing strategy. So it really can become sort of a hub where you have different stories you can interchange. You use them in all facets of your marketing, on your social, on your website, perhaps in print marketing, presentations. You sort of get the idea. It helps donors understand the context in which you operate and see the challenges your beneficiaries are facing. Super key, right? And people make decisions on an emotional level, and stories help tap into that. Also very true. Creates connection, bridge people, and create empathy. So all four of these points I would say are equally as important. I think that when we're talking about storytelling and nonprofits, it's not just about, I mean, it does create awareness. That's kind of the number one goal with social all the time, but it really does impact your strategy to elicit emotion, and donations or volunteers, people coming on board, that kind of thing, which is really hard to do with any other type of content. So keep that in mind. Now we want to talk about, but how? So if we look at sort of 3 steps when you're planning out: envision, guide, additional info. We're going to go into some more detail because with just those 3 bullets, you're probably thinking, that does not help me yet, Brittany. So number 1, envision. Stories need a beginning, middle, and end, just like the stories that we read as a kid or any books we read now, right? Who are the characters? What is their challenge or goal? Develop a character that people care about. People donate to people, right? So yes, people will donate to a cause they care about, but they care about that cause because there's a story or they're connected to it. So we remember that. The second part, guide, we're guiding readers along the story. So an exposition, conflict, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution, all of these great things. And we're offering a solution. The solution, we're encouraging donors to be a part of the solution and a part of the story. Now, we're not going to go much into the actual, how to write an effective story, but we're trying to give you sort of these high-level tips that will help inform a good piece of your strategy. And then the third point, if we go back here, additional information, provide numbers to back it up. So show your audience that there is more that needs to be done. Seems pretty obvious. If we show them that everything's already done, well, there's no call to action anymore, right? So your additional info has to sort of guide them. What do you want them to do as a result of not just consuming your content, but being a part of your story? So we have some tips for storytelling, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. These are not rocket science, but they're all very, very important. So number 1, be clear. Number 2, it contradicts a little bit of the last slide where we talked about, back it up with facts. What we mean here, avoid facts and figures, is just packing your story with like overwhelming amounts of facts, because people don't want that. They want to kind of just feel a part of it. Build characters, be specific. You can change your story at any point as long as it aligns with your mission. So just because you have one story out of the gate doesn't mean you can't, change it as you go in your marketing. It just has to always align to your mission. We should also have added there your vision and your mission. And the last point is know your audience. So we want to try and tell stories that, of course, will elicit emotion from our audience, right? We have some more tips on this slide. Have a system in place to look for them. And the tool we show you at the end kind of becomes like your content library. So hopefully that's really useful. We'll give you some tips there. Use your stories everywhere: fundraising, recruitment, business development. Genuine, authentic, super key. So you can, in theory, outsource your storytelling, but it's very hard to have an authentic voice if you don't at least really tell whoever's writing your story what you want to portray. So be careful of that. Balance of positive and negative. Of course, you don't want it to be all sunshine and rainbows, or there's no call to action to help you or donate. But you also don't want it to be so negative where it just leaves people with this really heavy feeling and they feel like that change can't happen. Include a call to action. So for our nonprofits or charities, of course, that's generally going to be, please donate, we need your help with XYZ, or please volunteer, that kind of thing, or join our board. You get the idea. For our small business people that might be watching this, your call to action, there's more call to action elements that you can kind of pull on. They don't seem to be as strong. So when you're talking about a nonprofit, it's really like, we need your help, donate today. that's your call to action. It's really simple. When we talk about small business, it's, visit our website for a consultation or connect with us today to learn more about this service. It's not as, you see where I'm going with this? It's not as easy to come up with them, but there is more of them. The next tip is use blog or your blog on your website, social media, website, visuals. So we're talking again about use it everywhere. Choose messages, plan your storytelling, which the sheet will show you will help with that, and make your audience feel emotions. So we want to show you our free planning tool and go into a little bit more detail. Here's a screenshot. I know it's a little fuzzy, so we're actually going to pull one up. We want to show you more of the how to plan out 2 pieces. So what we call our static content, which is kind of just our awareness brand build, and then how to use this tool to actually map out your stories as well. So I'm going to hit pause on the video for a second because I want to load up 3 versions of this template to show you just different ways that we're using it, so you can see that the blank template, you can customize it to work for you, and they can look very different. So I'm going to hit pause for 1 second here. Okay, I'm back. Did you guys miss me? That's funny because that took me 10 minutes to find all the sheets I wanted, but magic of pausing the video. It was 2 seconds for you guys. So I actually have 4 variations of this spreadsheet that I want to show you. So the first one is where do we go? Here it is. This is the blank template. I'm just going to move my... Okay, we are back. This video is now split into part 1 and part 2 because our camera was doing all sorts of funky things. So, all right, we have 4 versions. I said 3, but we have 4 versions of this template to show you. Now, this first one is a blank copy. This is the copy that we'll be giving everyone after, and we call it our Content for a Year template 2020, of course, because we're in 2020. So there's some instructions along the first tab, and then I'll click through these and kind of show you what each of these tabs is for. And then I'm going to show you some versions that are filled out for some clients and for ourselves and how we use it in different ways. So this is the sheet that now we're looking at a customized version, and this is the one that my team specifically uses. So our instructions are of course still there, and we've got some different tabs along the bottom that we use. And this is what I was alluding to when I was talking about using this as your content library, the place where you're going to store all of your ideas. So let's look at a particular month to start with. So we're going to look at sort of how we break this down. So we've got a monthly, this is February, we were talking about our hourly marketing plans. We'd break it down into our weekly themes over here. Then we have different days that we've plotted on the calendar that exist. So if we want to do these fun posts, something for Valentine's Day or Super Bowl or whatever, we kind of know what's coming up. So that becomes a big part of our content. And then our tier 3 planning down here, we start listing out the actual story topics. So I'm actually going to go find content, EDS, our version from last year that's actually filled out, because that will probably make a lot more sense. Let's see if we go over to one of the months from last year, let's see if it's, here we go. Okay, so I'm looking at October. Now this is stuff we brainstormed last October, and then we copied it over so that we could reuse some of the topics that we didn't talk about. So again, we were talking about hourly marketing, so good example. We broke it down into 4 subtopics, graphic design, website and blog, e-marketing, and social media. And now we have 2 sort of areas that we use for planning. We have our static content theme, which I'm going to show you that in a second. And then we have these would be like the list of stories here. So these are different things that relate to our tier 2, our weekly themes, that we would turn into blogs. So essentially we write a story and then we share it everywhere. So as an example, writing the ideal email marketing newsletter, graphic design every business and nonprofit needs, etc., etc. So once we've determined our monthly theme and our weekly themes, we go through and we brainstorm all these different ideas for stories that we can tell. And we do this planning piece first so that we're not getting overwhelmed in the content creation, the actual writing of the stories yet. We're just coming up with a plan. And then we're going to plot these up here on the calendar. So we have we can show our team, or in your case, your team, what story you want to, be able to tell and when. But I want to also show you this piece over here, our static content theme. Now, this is a piece that we use to be kind of, we could call it our filler content, just to create our baseline brand awareness piece while we're working on the other stuff, because this is stuff that we can easily duplicate and create for, a year or 2 or 3 at a time. And I'll kind of show you what that looks like. So for us, our static content theme, or last year anyways, was Monday motivation. So it was a branded quote. Wednesday was a midweek marketing tip, and Friday was a Friday funny marketing style. So I'm going to flip over to my Instagram so you can actually see what that looks like. So all of these kind of branded images, these are our filler content. So this year, for example, Friday, we do Freebie Friday. So there's a resource that we give away. Monday motivation, here you go. So we have a branded quote. So these are quite simple to create, and we plan those all in advance so that while we're going back and we're creating these pieces, our actual stories, we're not in complete overwhelm. And we also have other tabs that are really useful that we use for those of you who are going to use your stories in your email marketing specifically. There's a tab where you can kind of detail out, okay, the date and what you're going to include in your newsletters. If you've done video and you need a place to store where those are, use that tab. This one, if you embark on a lot of PR and you get featured in different places, you can list, the publication, the title, the link, all of that stuff. So you kind of have this at your fingertips and you can just put stuff in and recycle it where you need to. Blogs, you could change this tab to say stories. So these are all the blogs, or different blogs, for example, that we've written on our website. So we can go back and, if we have a month where we're just like, oh my goodness, we're so overwhelmed, there's way too much to do, we can't create new stories, we can go back, oh guys, what do we have on our blog? And we can look through and start recycling those and using those where we need to. And then resources that we've created as well, there's a tab for that. And here's what we wanted to show you, a sample nonprofit sheet. So this was for February, and this is our static content theme, for example, just as an idea. So Monday motivation, Tuesdays a story, your stories, what we're talking about. Wednesday, some kind of weekly news feature. Thursday, an upcoming event, and Friday, FAQ Friday. So this is just an idea of how you can, put some static content in there while you're planning out your stories, which we know takes some time. So that was version 1 and 2. Now our second one is if you're planning promotions specifically, you can use this calendar piece in a different sort of visual way. So this is an e-commerce client, but nonetheless, you will have donation campaigns, so you can see how they relate. So we have kind of the title of the campaign, and then we use the colors to indicate when that campaign runs from to and from, so that we can see what's going on when, and then any elements that we have that go along with it. You can see here, so this becomes our library that we can again duplicate for next year or look back on. So that's kind of another way to use it. We also store videos like this that we create if we're showing, or if you want to show your team how to use different things, great place to store that stuff. And then the last one I wanted to show you was, this is another kind of visual sample, and this particular client doesn't do a lot of storytelling, but we do a lot of, it's a little bit more of a one-way communication dialogue. But in any case, this shows you how we use the calendar template to be able to show everybody what type of content is going out on which day. So whether it's, you can see in yellow, their brand campaign, green, if it's something, we're going to post about a toolkit, that kind of thing, or this orange bar if they have like an ongoing ad or campaign that runs through. So there's definitely multiple ways that you can use this sheet. For all intents and purposes, we're of course going to recommend that you follow the original structure like this. Whether you choose to do the static content or not is totally up to you. Many of you might already be doing this, but definitely take advantage of this tool to start brainstorming out your stories. And let's go back to the presentation, and hopefully it can slice all of these versions together because this seems so silly. So that was our demo of the tool. And we're going to kind of leave it off with some tips for success. And I'm not even going to try and move my camera because every time I do, it creates like 4 versions of myself, which is quite entertaining. So keep a spreadsheet or document to track ideas when you feel inspired. So that's what the sheet is for. And that's why we really wanted to go into depth on that for you. Batch out your content to save time and stay focused. So rather than kind of logging in, especially as it relates to social and trying to just come up with something the day of, try and write batches. Sit down, maybe it's a day, maybe you spend a whole day and you go somewhere nice and you create content and then it's ready for you. That's our like number one time-saving tip. Use tools available. There's lots of free ones to help get your story out. Reuse and recycle content. That's also super key. So when you write a story, you're not going to spend all this time and effort to just do it or use it one time. You can recycle it, and the content sheet hopefully will help you start to see over time everything available to you to recycle. And ask for help. Your audience is going to provide you with things to use as stories, or reach out, ask to feature them, that kind of thing as well. And that's it. So thank you so much for sticking with me to the end of this presentation. The tools and templates that we showed you will be available. We'll provide those to Angie so she can attach them to her email. And if you need anything or have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. And that's it. So thanks, everyone. Hopefully we'll get to do this again soon. And please join us on the Facebook Live. So send us your questions. Okay, have a great day. Bye-bye.